back to the Pitch Pod. My name is Joe Janner. With me, my co-host, Jeff Stebbins. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to be with you here today. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm looking forward to this upcoming match of the week preview, our prediction. We're back looking at the English Premier League, Chelsea versus Manchester City. So I'm looking forward to see what kind of conversation we can bring about, and obviously looking forward to see what our predictions will bring.
Manchester City, they're back on the top of the table after Tottenham had a big loss. So they're back and kind of feels like all is right with the world again, Joe. Man City on top. Okay, things are good. So yeah, Man City's back on top, and Chelsea, although I believe they're in 10th place at the moment, they're coming off some big victories. So and it's a home match, so you never know what's going to happen. And I think it's going to be a really great game for both sides.
All our Spurs followers just shut us off here after that mention of their loss. Now, because is it not? I mean, could the credit go to Chelsea a little bit as far as winning? I mean, I think that's a talking point. Chelsea winning, having a solid performance, and never mind the fact that a second red card, playing a high line, allowing Chelsea to get in Nicholas Jackson with the hat trick. Never mind all that. I mean, but could we give some credit to Chelsea? And
I think you just nailed it. I think Nicholas Jackson with the hat trick, I think that's a big deal. So yeah, I think you can give credit to Chelsea.
And now we're boosting our supporters.
Going back up.
Yeah, going back up. Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, good. That's partly why I was looking forward to getting into this match, is because we've talked about it not only last season but into this season. Chelsea underperforming with the talent and the players they have, but yeah, in some sense, Manchester City back up top. Maybe not as a surprise, though. We can talk about the rest of the table. We can talk about Arsenal losing as well versus Newcastle. I mean, they were there and had opportunities and chances. But yeah, Chelsea versus Manchester City. Excited for it.
Yeah, and before we really dive deep into it, I think we have to mention, Phil Foden and how he's stepped up, and he's doing his best, and he's doing a pretty good job of filling the shoes of KDB. Kevin De Bruyne. It's kind of the impossible job. I don't know how you fulfill that and make it be as though he's not missing, but Phil Foden, he's stepping up to the challenge, and so it's good to see him getting in the mix and kind of taking that facilitator role that KDB used to do so well, especially with that 1-2 with Haaland up top.
You almost had to mention Haaland, right? We knew you were going to get me into talking about the Terminator. Maybe not as much of that sort of result and those sort of performances as of late of this season. I mean, we look at what he did in the Champions League, scoring. We look at a Manchester City beating Bournemouth 6-1 without him playing all but 45 minutes, didn't get a goal. I know, Jeff, we talked off the air a little bit about my fantasy league and the disappointments of Haaland not getting anything on there. But, I mean, we know that Haaland is a presence. We know that he's quite capable, and more than likely, I think probably even looking at this before we get too far into it, is like he scores a goal. He continues to score and be a dominant factor for Manchester City. Not a surprise why they're up there at the top with a player like that. But yes, getting back to your initial comment, the Foden coming in, having more opportunities to be a part of the squad, playing more minutes, having more significant contributions to their team. And again, also probably not a surprise why they're number one right now.
Yeah. And they've had some other big losses. If Joe, you want to go ahead and mention Gundogan not being with the team anymore.
Well, yeah, I think that was one that was, especially if you look back to the latter parts of the last campaign, what he did for not only the league, but getting through and winning Champions League. And then for him to be dismissed or him to be transferred out of the club and be, now along the sides with the Barcelona squad, I think that was another one. A lot of people go, well, how are they going to do without him? Because especially what he did late, you can even say over the course of last season and seasons prior to that. I think that's another big loss for Manchester City. But here they are again, still able to do what they need to do to get the results, to get the wins, to get the points, to be up top, number one as we stand going into this next match day.
Yeah, they are the number one team. I would definitely point out, I don't think they're as dominant as they were last season. And I think that gap up top is a lot narrower than it was last season with them and Arsenal in that 1 and 2 spot. So that is something to take note of. and they have had some big losses, but you're right. They found their way back to the top, and now they're going against a tough match. They're going in a away match. They're facing Chelsea, and Chelsea's got a little momentum building here, Joe. So can you kind of take us through Chelsea and kind of how they're doing this season and this momentum build up coming off this big win they just had?
I think that's it. I think you have to. Hopefully, they're looking at. They got to feel good after getting that result, and they have to. I mean, that plays into the mindset. That plays into the intensity. That plays into the way that the players then approach their training leading up to this match. And I think that's a good manager like Pochettino is going to hopefully play off of that and be able to manage how that energy can be utilized and how it can be put into place so that they can get the most out of what they're doing to work against. I mean, again, the question is it, are they at a place where it's Chelsea with the clear identity and they're doing what they're going to do? Or I'd always like to be interested in finding out that how much is preparing for what Manchester City brings. I talk about it often. I talk about it all the time about how really the manager's role is to prepare the team to play under their ideas and do what they need to do within the Chelsea identity. So I think that's probably more so where they will be. That's going to take a performance from everybody that's on the squad. I mean, we talk about lots of talent. You mentioned Nicholas Jackson scoring the hat trick, but you have a Sterling, you have other supporting players there that are good and well fit to be a part of the side. And probably I can't see too many changes coming about from what they put out there against Spurs in this last week. So that's what I'm looking forward to see. What can they do with the momentum? How does that translate to now being in a challenging situation? Yes, they're at home, but they're now facing a Manchester City at top that they know it's going to bring a lot to Chelsea and have to be a good side, good performance from Chelsea to get through and get a win.
Yeah, I would imagine Chelsea's going to be big on possession, or at least trying to possess it as much as possible, keep it away from Haaland. It's tough with such an offensive, talented team. I mean, you think of even some of their wingers, and you got guys like Silva and Grealish who they're very well capable of scoring and scoring quality goals. And even if they have a miss or a ricochet, well, guess who's going to be there to pick it up? Probably Haaland. And Haaland's also going to put away the PK opportunities. So I would imagine that's probably what Chelsea's game plan is possess and then look to cross the ball in from the outside. That's what I would imagine. But Joe, what do you think strategically they're going to do when they approach the number one team right now in the league being Man City?
I think it's challenging. Maybe even look at the other way to phrase it, to put it, that they will try to limit Manchester City's possession. They'll try to limit their opportunities. If, as often as Manchester City is willing to push up as many players in attack, is it going to be them set up well defensively, having a clear understanding of when and how they can win the ball to counterattack, to go and find those moments when Manchester City maybe has just too many players in advance, that's too high of a line to play the ball over the top and get Nicholas Jackson to get in and get on goal and finish when he can. So I think that's probably more so how they'll look to set up. Primarily looking at the response then of them, I think, limiting Manchester City's effectiveness. I mean, you talked about a couple of key players that are definitely something that they have to look out for, aside from just the threat of Haaland, which we talked about before. It's not just Haaland and his threat, it's what they do to build up to that, to provide him with those opportunities. So I'm looking forward to it. That's something I'm looking forward to see, the contrast of style, the contrast of approaches to the game that you'll find within both these two teams. And I'm really thinking this is going to be a really good match.
Well, that's exciting to hear. I hope it will be. Obviously, being at home, that's got to be a huge advantage for Chelsea with all their support and fans and playing in their home stadium. So yeah, it could turn into be a real nail biter. That's for sure. But Joe, I think I'm ready for my prediction. As tradition, the floor is yours. Go first, Joe. You got this.
That's fair. That's fair. I think, again, going to require Chelsea to perform well in all facets and all phases of the game. Going to be a challenge for them, even coming off this momentum based on how they performed in other matches leading up to this. But I think that's going to lend itself to a good contest. In a sense, though, is it enough? We've said about this, everything that favors Manchester City, not only just the personnel and the means and the way they go about, but also where they stand. With all that being said, I think for Chelsea to score early, to get a goal, could be huge. Whether they'll then sit back and just be okay with just winning the one, I don't see that. Again, I don't know if that's in the makeup, the identity, the DNA, if you will, of Pochettino, and how he would have his sides put together. That's why I'm really seeing this as a draw. I'm really seeing this as I don't think you can keep Manchester City from scoring
Yeah.
in this one. I think that's part of it. I think that's the hardest part. Chelsea can score one. I think a 1-1 draw is fitting for this. I'm looking at 1-1 in this upcoming Chelsea versus Manchester City.
That'd be a fun match. That'd be great. And I hear you, Joe. I hear you as always, but Man City, they're definitely the favorites, even though they're going into this away. So I'm gonna go with Man City. I just believe they're in good form, and I do believe they are the more talented team overall. I do believe so. So I have Man City winning, but not in a blowout fashion by any means. I do agree. I think it's going to be a great contest all around. So I have Man City going into this and winning this game 2-1. And you can put Haaland on the board for at least one of those goals.
Okay. All right. Well, it'll be definitely something to look forward to. Haven't made the decision yet. Haaland stays on the fantasy team, but it's hard to take him off when just about everybody else has him. And I know I'll be looking forward to see one way or the other how this goes. Again, always looking forward to these matches of the week in our previews.
Well, who knows? Maybe you'll pick up Nicholas if he has another good match. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's now you're giving some ideas. That could be something to go about. All right.
Hopefully you get a chance out there to tune in and watch the game. It should be a fun one. And as always, keep pitching out there. We look forward to talking to you next time. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what we bring you here at the Pitch Pod, please do us a favor, hit that like and that subscribe. Don't forget, we're available on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. Thank you, everyone, and keep pitching out there.
In a game, the round ball, round posts, anything can happen.